What's going on, everyone? Mike Singer from Blue and Gold with this week's Notre Dame recruiting update with yours truly. My sidekick Trey Yannity is out this week, so you guys are just stuck with the solo show of Mike Singer. Please do hit the thumbs up on this video, subscribe to our channel for more content, and if you are joining us live, please do drop your comments and may be able to get to those throughout the show. And if you're watching back on YouTube, please do drop a comment with what you think about the show. I read all the YouTube comments, believe it or not. So do check, so I do check those out. So please do drop some comments, and I respond to them from time to time. Joe Brossi in the chat. What's going on? Hope everyone is doing well this Friday. As we always like to know where you folks are watching from, so drop that in the comments, live or watching back. Let us know where you're at. It's a rainy day here in the South, but we're plugging through the show, and we're gonna have a great one today, even with a solo. So wanted to start with reminding folks that the dead period has passed. If you're wondering what is a dead period, I don't understand the recruiting calendar. Does that mean you can't talk to a player? Just real quick, there's several months during the year that it's a dead period, which basically I boil it down to this: there's no face-to-face contact between a college coach and a high school recruit, whether the coaches are on the road or the recruits are going to the campuses. None of that happened. So February was a complete dead period, and then on March 1st, that dead period lifted. So coaches are not able to go out on the road. That's from mid-April to the end of May, and also during the fall, and then in December and January, those home visit periods. But so we're in I think it's called a quiet period right now, where players can take unofficial visits to schools, and then from April to June, players can take official visits. Lenny, what's up? Joe Bro, what's up? So visits are back on, and the first visitor of the spring for Notre Dame, Cameron Clark, from a small town, Medina, Tennessee, South Gibson High School, 6'5", 235-pound athlete, and someone who Notre Dame has offered and again has on campus today. See the RPMs a little bit all over the place, but once get off the video, I'll add that Notre Dame visit to his profile, and I believe the Irish will probably shoot up a little bit in the RPM given that. But when I got to talk to him a couple weeks ago, it's about a week ago, talked to him about his offer from the Fighting Irish, and he seemed really excited. He told me he grew up watching Notre Dame. His grandfather, who had passed, is a huge Fighting Irish fan. So this is a school that Clark is very familiar with. His family is very familiar with, and it was one that he was very excited to get. The whole family was pretty pumped up about this one. So he had about 6'5", 235 pounds, more a Viper target for the Irish, that weak side defensive end position. And I've talked about this so many times, one of many players on a crowded defensive line board for the Fighting Irish. Yeah, folks, please do drop your questions. We will get to some of those later in the video. But yeah, Cameron Clark, I really like him, and I could see Notre Dame ending up with this young man, but it's just really tough to kind of go through the board, because there are so many players who I talk to, or you learn they're visiting. Like, man, I could see Notre Dame landing this kid. I'm told they're probably going to take about 5 defensive linemen. They already have one committed and Owen way full. You guys know I like Notre Dame to land Bryce Young, so that could be 2. I like the Irish for the Smith twins, Jacob and Jared. So, then you're looking at 3 and 4. So it's like, who are the 5? I think it's a good problem that Notre Dame has here, but only, unless Notre Dame actually lands some of these guys, which is obviously a huge part of the battle. So, this young man Clark has looks at tight end as well, and I believe you see him playing some tight end even here on this play. Looks at tight end and Viper, but he told me that defense is much more of his preference, where he feels most comfortable, and it does seem like most schools are recruiting him there as well. So Al Golden, Chad Bowden, Al Washington, all doing a good job in this recruitment. So that is Cameron Clark visiting Notre Dame March 3rd. And then I believe on Saturday he's heading to Purdue. So some visits on the horizon for Clark, and we'll have coverage of his visit and how it went at Blue and Gold. A big news item, folks, of this week was Tennessee cornerback commits. Kaleb Beasley visiting Notre Dame. Definitely a notable one here, folks. Blue and Gold broke this news on Thursday morning. He's So we saw him camp at Notre Dame in June of 2021 for Irish Invasion, and thought that he was an absolute freak show. At that time, I thought he was like showing to me that this is like a 5-star kind of prospect, like at that cornerback position, just extremely fluid, impressive player, lockdown ability. Really liked what I saw. Had a great visit from what I understand, at Notre Dame in June. That's the last time he got on campus, though. He ended up committing to Tennessee in October. I had a prediction for him to land with the Irish, and I made that pick pretty soon after that visit. But he committed to Tennessee. It was a little bit of a surprise in terms of the timing, but not so much the destination. I mean, Tennessee was always a big contender there, but he went ahead and locked in that commitment. And I mean, as folks who follow Notre Dame know, a commitment does not mean it's a done deal. And Irish fans, I feel like you guys might think that you're always on the bad end of that, but remember, Notre Dame does flip players all the time. Just last year, off the top of my head, you had Kenny Minchie from Pittsburgh, you had Boubacar Traore from Boston College, and Notre Dame's looking to do that here with Kaleb Beasley flipping him away from Tennessee, possibly. So I am told that he has 3 visits locked in for this spring, and his trip to Notre Dame is expected to be what is it? Is it April 1st? I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to look it up in front of me because I can't remember off the top of my head. April 1st. Yep. So he's going to Tennessee the 25th. And he'll be at Auburn the 27th. We've reported this at Blue and Gold and had an article on Thursday early afternoon. So it's absolutely huge news here for the Irish. Marcus Freeman, and I believe it was Chris O'Leary and maybe Jared Parker. Parker, of course, Notre Dame's new offensive coordinator, recruits Tennessee for the Irish. So all 3 of those guys were at Beasley's basketball game in January, which was, kind of a big deal for Notre Dame, to kind of show like, hey, we are after Beasley and we want everyone to know about it. And now they're getting him on campus. Of course, this is an unofficial visit. Notre Dame has their policy. If you're a player committed elsewhere, you're not able to. Actually, I'm standing there in the background in that white shirt. I'm wearing the same white shirt. Can we get a pause on that? Can we get a pause on that, Chris? In a quick 10-second rewind. Pause right there. See the big guy in the white shirt? Yep, there. I'm wearing the same shirt. That's awesome. I was at that game. I was in Milton, Georgia, in my backyard. So yeah, we can continue. But yeah, John says it's clearly an April Fool's joke, and I'm here to tell you, John, it's not an April Fool's joke. And when we reported this news at Blue and Gold that Beasley was visiting, I had a couple folks being, kind of just in jest, but saying, "Oh, I'll believe it when I see he's visiting." These high-profile guys never end up visiting when they say they are. I think we're all just kind of butthurt about the Justin Scott thing, but we can move past that. And if we're going to say just because Justin Scott didn't visit, the couple times he said he was going to in January, that doesn't mean that all big-time players who say they're going to visit Notre Dame aren't. Like that. That's just not very sound logic, and there's not a whole lot of stats to back that up. Yeah, look at this hit here from Kaleb Beasley. Yeah, is that even a legal hit anymore? I don't know in college football and high school football. But yeah, big news again here. Kaleb Beasley visiting Notre Dame. Gonna take some of your questions here in just a moment. But first, we are going to hear from our sponsors over at Augie's Locker Room. And you guys know I love Augie's Locker Room. I've met Augie It's an incredible store. It's an incredible place to go if you are in South Bend. So yeah, folks, if you're a passionate Notre Dame fan, which if you are spending your day watching this Notre Dame recruiting show in early March, then I know you are a Notre Dame recruiting junkie. Go to augieslockerroom.com. They have a wide selection of Notre Dame stadium pieces, jerseys, helmets, autographs, and one-of-a-kind Rockney items. You can find exclusive Joe Montana signed items and famous sculptor Jerry McKenna's miniature replicas of the bronze statues around the stadium. If he doesn't have it in store, Augie will find it for you. Visit augieslockerroom.com or stop in at 1811 South Bend Avenue and see the vintage display dating back to 1890. Augie's Locker Room .com 574-277-NDND. Again, you can give them a call 574-277-NDND. All right, we've got a couple questions here that I had queued up. John says, have you ever thought about inviting Irish Breakdown onto your channel for a nice ND back and forth? That would be cool. No, I haven't thought about that, to be completely honest with you. I think Brian and the guys have their channel. We have our channel. Yeah, good friendly competition between the Notre Dame YouTube channels. Appreciate the comment, John. Driscoll, you're always welcome on here if you want to pop on, though. Joe Bro says, what you think about the staff getting looks from the NFL? Appreciate the question. Not a surprise. The comment or in this Football Scoop article, mentioned that Dylan McCullough was getting looks from the NFL and turned it down. I mean, I think this will probably be his last year at Notre Dame because the guy's his trajectory is just gone. I mean, we talked about this on our show Wednesday. Maybe we talked about it after the show. I can't remember. When me and Hyde were just kind of shooting the crap for a couple minutes. But I think Dylan, like when you think about, all right, who else could go from the Notre Dame staff? Al Golden is up there because I think he wants to be a head coach. At the college level, probably get back in the NFL, but it looks like that Golden is staying at Notre Dame for a second season. Chancey Stuckey, and again, I mentioned McCullough. I think Stuckey's trajectory is going up as well. I mean, he's just an absolute baller as a coach and a recruiter. So I could see him, and he's got the NFL pedigree as well. So I think Stuckey's a hot commodity. Obviously, Brian Mason, I mean, for what he did, all the accolades for that fantastic 2022 season that the Irish special teams had, led by Mason, that's not a surprise. I mean, a big-time special teams play can change a game. I remember when I was in high school, my coach told me that, I don't know if he pulled this number out of his butt, but he told me that if you have a blocked punt, if you block a punt, you win the game 84% of the time. Like, those special teams plays are so big, so that doesn't surprise me. Chris O'Leary, the safeties coach, does surprise me a little bit. Now, I know that the Ravens were interested in O'Leary, and of course, he coached Kyle Hamilton, and Hamilton's with the Ravens, so it's an interesting connection there. But yeah, the coaching carousel never stops spinning. So yeah, wouldn't surprise me if another Notre Dame coach or two end up elsewhere. All right, I think that's all the questions that I had queued up there. All right, yeah, moving along. I want to talk about three most important recruits that Notre Dame's hosting this spring. And I want to mention that, hey, there are visitors out there who are coming to Notre Dame this spring who have set up the visit, but we don't know about. Plus, there are players who have yet to set up those spring visits. So it's very much where things stand currently and, what we know. The first, and then this is not in any particular order, but it's Beasley. Beasley is the guy who I would put up there right away as a most important visitor for Notre Dame, because, and again, this isn't the greatest television because we just spent, a few minutes talking about Beasley, but, I wouldn't be doing you guys a good service by not saying that he's one of the most important players, even though that Notre Dame has Leonard Moore and, oh man, what's the kid from Archbishop Muller's name? Oh gosh, why is this escaping me? Notre Dame's other cornerback. I was just talking to the young man last night. Why am I having a brain fart right now? Well, I'm not going to be able to stop until I remember Notre Dame's quarterback commit from Cincinnati, Archbishop Muller. Carson Hobbs. I'm sorry, Carson. I forgot your name for a second there. Yes. backtracking, even though Notre Dame has 2 cornerback commitments already, Beasley is still so important because when you look at positions that Notre Dame needs to improve the most on to win a national title, I've always said, and I'm sure you guys agree with me, quarterback, cornerback, and receiver. And you could probably throw edge rusher in there as well. It's always really important. But yeah, I mean, cornerback, you got to be good on the edges, so you can't have enough of these talented players. So Beasley is definitely up there. Again, I've seen him in person 2 or 3 times, and I'm always impressed by him. So this would be an absolutely huge get if Notre Dame's able to flip him to Tennessee. And if you're just joining us, Beasley is set to visit Notre Dame April 1st. Next up would be John Mitchell for the same exact reasons. John Mitchell is a big-time cornerback prospect out of Jacksonville, Florida, Mandarin High School. So, and he's visiting March 25th, as we've reported at Blue and Gold. See the industry ranking versus the On3 ranking. Number 251 overall player per that industry ranking. On3's own have him listed a little bit higher as the number 61 player nationally and number 8 cornerback. So, yeah, I mean, obviously a highly ranked player, and Bama offered him a couple weeks ago. Obviously, that's kind of like a gold standard offer for a defensive back prospect. Get an offer from Nick Saban. I know Florida State has been a factor in this recruitment. Penn State, he likes a lot, is expected to officially visit this spring, but I do give Notre Dame the edge in this recruitment right now. And again, yeah, reasons why this is such a big recruitment for Notre Dame. I mean, he is just beloved by the Fighting Irish staff, from what sources tell me. Like, he's just someone they want so bad. And when you talk about defensive backs, like you're recruiting a cornerback, you're recruiting a safety. From what I'm told, Chris O'Leary, and you see this on the recruiting show, Chris O'Leary and Mike Mickens work hand in hand. Like, if there's a player that Notre Dame's recruiting as a cornerback, you'll see O'Leary recruiting at the corner. I talked about when Notre Dame went to Kaleb Beasley's basketball game, O'Leary went on that trip because O'Leary has been in regular contact with Beasley. And it's the same with like Peyton Bowen last year. Sorry, I didn't know. I'm trying not to say that name too much. But Mike Mickens, even though he's the cornerbacks coach, is very involved with Peyton Bowen and other safety prospects. So those two guys work hand in hand. The reason being, so many corners end up safeties, and these safeties end up corners, more so the former than the latter. But that's an important thing. So I mentioned all of that to say Notre Dame could get Hobbs, Moore, Beasley, and Mitchell, 4 cornerbacks, and 1 or 2 of those guys could end up safeties, especially like someone like Hobbs, who's the longer type. So yeah, players, good versatile guys, and yeah, Mitchell fits that, and yeah, highly ranked. He's got a big time offer list. Notre Dame absolutely loves him, and he's a position of need. Kind of fits everything there. Yeah, folks, if you're just joining us, please do hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content. Let us know where you're watching from. And for folks watching back on YouTube, let us know what you are thinking about the show so far. Yeah, and then the third most important recruit visiting Notre Dame this spring, I'd say Darian Mayo from Good Counsel out in Olney, Maryland. Someone who I don't know his recruitment super well, because he just kind of plays things so close to the vest, but another big visitor for the Fighting Irish, and his visit is lined up April 1st. So that's a big. So the 2 big recruiting weekends in the next 4 weeks. You got the March 25th weekend with John Mitchell. Carson Hobbs will be there as well. Jaden Riddell, a top Notre Dame tight end target, who I also considered for this. I got Cutter Boley, who we had that scoop at Blue and Gold, big time 2025 quarterback. He'll be on campus for that March 25th weekend. And then the next weekend is April 1st. Darian Mayo being the headline visitor for that weekend. And yeah, number 92 overall player nationally, number 9 edge per On3. The industry rankings got him ranked a little bit lower, but yeah, just when you pump on his film, another big time pass rusher. And mentioned several times now that Notre Dame has several of these just elite pass rushers and it's tough to kind of gauge exactly where the defensive line board is right now. But getting Mayo on campus is a big deal. Also mentioned, there's several players from the DMV that are very interested in Notre Dame. You got Darian Mayo, you got Jalen Harvey, who I believe is visiting this spring as well. Yeah, actually, he's got his official visit set up in June. And I know there's a couple others that their names escaping me, but um, yeah, Darren Mayo, a big deal getting out to Notre Dame this spring. Drop more questions. I got a few queued up that I will talk about. It's a little bit of a shorter show since it's solo, but one more topic, and then I'll end the show by taking some questions. I'm sure you guys saw the report a couple nights ago that CJ Carr is visiting Texas A&M, and I'm just gonna take a drink while you guys simmer on that information. Okay. Okay. Yeah, visiting Texas A&M, and when this news came out without context from I think a Texas A&M reporter at a different network, that was just it. It was just CJ Carr is visiting Texas A&M that weekend, and naturally Notre Dame Nation loses their mind. Um, it's just fan bases, and we just kind of lose our mind. News like this, but there was important context, and I wrote about this right at Blue and Gold. I checked in with multiple sources. As soon as the news came out, my first thought was, this is just 7-on-7 tournament. There's a 7-on-7 tournament in Houston that he's going to this weekend. A&M's like 90 minutes away. That's all this is. But I did my due diligence, talked to a source on the Notre Dame side of things, and a source, with the connection to Carr, and was told by both he's playing with his California powered 7-on-7 team in Houston. It's a whole group visit, and that's just it. There's not I don't think CJ Carr is wavering in his Notre Dame commitment. Look, in January, before Tommy Rees left, he did this same thing, and he went to Washington. Okay. There's no big freak out, right? He reshared Carr had reshared a picture of him in a Washington uniform on Instagram. I think everyone was like, whoa, what's going on here? And then right afterwards, he says, hey, I'm all solid with Notre Dame. Now, this is the one thing I will say. For CJ, there hasn't been much since the offensive coaching staff, kind of got settled in, with Gino Guidugli and Jared Parker, those moves. Hasn't really been anything to my knowledge publicly of CJ saying, hey, I'm solid. I'm good with Notre Dame. Let's ride. He did talk to On3 director of scouting, director of recruiting, Chad Simmons, after the Reese news broke and said, hey, I'm solid with Notre Dame. These are my guys. We're good. I do think it might ease a lot of people's minds. And this is just my opinion here. I'm just speaking for me. I think it would ease a lot of people's minds from Notre Dame Nation if he, after the new hires, if he came out and said, hey, I'm still solid. Let's do this thing. I'm recruiting for the Irish. This is where my focus is. Because even though it's a visit to A&M with the 7-on-7 team, it's still a visit. He's still I'm sure Jimbo Fisher's going to talk to him. I'm sure the coaching staff's going to talk to him. Doubts can creep in. So that's just the one thing for me. That's just a little sliver of concern. This is my favorite throw right here. That dime right there. Love that throw. A little sidearm action. But yeah, there's maybe you guys don't have that concern. Maybe mine's misguided, but he's still visiting, and this is such a sick throw too. He's still visiting another school. So there's a little bit. But I think next weekend, and I ported this at Blue and Gold Thursday. So if you want to get the scoop on Notre Dame recruiting, you definitely have to subscribe to Blue and Gold $29.99 to unlock access until the start of next season, or you can kind of get the crumbs that I drop on YouTube. But I think he's got a tournament in I think it's New Orleans next week. So they're expected to be at LSU. I'm sure Notre Dame fans will love that. He's going to see old Bayou Brian. But yeah, so there's always going to be a little bit there. And I think it would be, if he is solid with Notre Dame, I think it would kind of ease the minds. If he does kind of, make that public statement, hey, I'm good. But I think ever since the Reese news, Carr has taken a step back a little bit from that, because not only got all the media contacting him all the time, wanting for comment. That can't be as worse as all the college coaches contacting CJ about, "Hey, are you solid? Like, do you want to come on a visit here?" I'm sure that he's being blown up as there as well. So again, for the 50th time, I do think a public statement or just some kind of public acknowledgement that he's solid with Notre Dame would help. Now that Notre Dame's hired Gaduli and Parker, but also a visit to Notre Dame. Unsure if he's going to get to South Bend in March. Seems like he's pretty busy with the 7-on-7 schedule. Just kind of keeping sharp in the offseason. And remember when he started to play for this California Power team, it was really exciting because he has Jaden Riddell, the top, one of Notre Dame's top tight end targets in the class on that team. Jeremiah McClellan, a big time receiver from St. Louis, the Irish love. I think Emmett Mosley, another huge Irish receiver target and legacy, is on that team. So it started off as a really exciting thing that he's going to be recruiting for Notre Dame. And now it's a little bit more, hey, there's more worry because he's visiting these schools. But again, we will just have to see here, folks. But I do think the gist here is that CJ Carr is solid with Notre Dame. That's my overwhelming feeling here. But yeah, I do kind of have to mention the little caveat and that my little sliver of potential doubt. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about my thoughts there as I go through some of these that I'd start up. Yeah, I do think that he sticks with Notre Dame, and I really don't see much of a concern here. When he committed last summer, in my mind, I always thought that he would never play for Tommy Rees at Notre Dame. I just did not see Rees here long term, not only because coordinators usually have a shelf life of 3 years, but also I just felt like Rees always wanted to do something else. So that's that. Why did you change the name of the Goolsby Show? EK, we have not changed the name of the Goolsby Show. Actually, the Goolsby Show is even got a little rebrand. I mean, you can see it above me. Like, yeah, we even got a little rebrand. So yeah, the Goolsby Show is alive and well. We just had Goolsby on our Wednesday night show with Tim Hyde the past couple weeks. So the Goolsby Show will return soon with a pretty big guest. We're not going to have a Goolsby Show this Sunday. It might be the following Sunday. So definitely keep an eye on that. EK, appreciate your concern though. Could there be offers that go out on Pot of Gold that visit in the spring? That's a fantastic question. And yeah, that's what I kind of mentioned earlier, going through the most important recruits visiting Notre Dame in the spring, that there will be more that get scheduled. And this is certainly that. So for folks who are wondering, what does Pot of Gold mean? Basically, every year on St. Patrick's Day, this will be the third year Notre Dame's done it. It's a big recruiting push for players who are currently high school sophomores. Yeah, high school sophomores. So class of 2025. I think Notre Dame offered around 70 players in the 2024 class last year, and it was around the same number the year before in the 2022 class. So a big recruiting day for Notre Dame on March. What day is St. Patrick's Day fall on this year? Where's my calendar on my phone? There it is. Yeah. Is that March 17th, St. Patrick's Day? Or St. Patrick's Day every day on March 17th. I'm having just a total brain fart of a show today. Joe Bro says, no more Justin Scott news. Not really. I mean, he's Willie, get out of here. Just get. What are you talking about? Carr gone for sure. Come on. Yeah, there's nothing really to say on Justin Scott. Is he? I'm kind of like, I want to move my pick. I just don't see it. I know Notre Dame is still battling for him. Yeah, Notre Dame sources still feel good. Folks in the good. I don't see Justin Scott ending up at Notre Dame anymore. I just don't. I think he probably ends up at Georgia. And if you have a 2 dates set to go to Notre Dame, both don't work out, you're supposed to still commit on your birthday and end of January. You don't. Georgia offers, you cancel it. And now you're going to visit Georgia and you still haven't set up to Notre Dame, and it's a 90-minute drive. Personally, I think he's probably going to end up elsewhere. I would be glad to change my tune on this one because Justin Scott's an absolute freak show and a 5-star player per the industry ranking and on 3. But yeah, in terms of news, like look at the first 3 letters of that word news, like new. There's nothing new really, other unless you were unaware. He's going to go to Georgia this spring, and that I'd probably peg the Bulldogs as the leader right now. Yeah, nothing too new. What's with Carr's drop in on-3 rankings? So he was ranked previously, before this update this week, as the number 138 overall player and number 12 quarterback. And the grade was a 91. So do you see like the number 91 right above the number 4 there, Chris? I don't know if you kind of point. Yeah. So the number 91, that's his grade, right? So I think if you have read Rivals for a year, or for years, a 6.1 is a 5-star on Rivals. Where the hell they get what 6.1 means, I have no freaking clue. And I worked at Rivals for 9 years and still had no idea how they came up with that. But you have like your low end 4-star to your high end 4-star, whatever it is. 91, I think, is the lower end of a 4-star. And early on in the cycle, they're a little bit. I mean, these rankings websites will be a little bit more conservative with their rankings, and with the knowledge that it's a lot better to move them up than move them down. I think we can all agree on that. So I think you're a little bit more conservative, and then you grow it on. But he had been a 91 before the drop. He was a 91, and he has a 91 grade now. And I'm guessing the scale goes to 99 or 100. Like, makes sense. So he had a 91. And so the grade has remained unchanged. Also, before the rankings update this week, he was the number 12 quarterback in the country. Look where he is now, number 12 quarterback. So when I talked to Charles about it, and I had the article of Blue and Gold, Chris, you can switch the tab to recruiting and scroll down. The article's there for website folks who have a subscription. I interviewed Charles. The content and context, I should say, and explanation behind. And basically in the article, he said, we moved, and I did the research. It was something like 70% of the quarterbacks ranked inside the top 300 nationally all moved down because he just doesn't feel, the on-3 scouting people just don't feel as good about the quarterbacks, this quarterback cycle, especially coming off of last year, which was an insane group. So if you really care about where Carr ranks compared to safeties and receivers and linebackers, then it's a huge freaking deal that he dropped from 138 to 200. For me, I care a lot more about where he ranks among other quarterbacks, which he has not changed. He's still the number 12. Now, if you want to go up in arms about him being the number 12 quarterback in the country, I think that that's a lot more fair to discuss. But the national rankings drop, I don't really care about. But yeah, this comment, I don't think that's the point being made. I was answering what's with Carr's drop in the on-3 rating. So why is he ranked lower on Carr? Because they like other quarterbacks more. It's just really that simple. I mean, whether you agree with that or not, if he was committed to Michigan and you see him drop, I'm sure you guys would be really excited and would agree with it. But he's committed to Notre Dame and he drops, and it's not good. So that's just the fact of the matter on that. So yeah, I still think it's a really good quarterback group. I don't agree with it. I think Carr is like a top 50 prospect nationally and probably a top 5 quarterback, but I don't do the rankings. I think that was it for all the questions. I don't like ending on like on that, but if that's all of our comments, then I guess we got to. All right, folks. Well, I do hope you have a great. I can't. How about just real quick, talk about Kennedy Urlacher. logged a prediction for him to end up at Notre Dame. I think that's a pretty exciting one. He's not ranked super high. He's a guy who just kind of is busting on the recruiting scene, and I would say in the past couple months, really his stock has picked up. You know, his dad is Brian Urlacher. That's a pretty good it's a pretty good thing, especially this young man is kind of a safety linebacker hybrid, which so you talk about him fitting the rover position. That's definitely exciting. So I logged a prediction for him to land at Notre Dame. He visits campus April 15th, and I think the Irish have a pretty decent shot to land him. So Marcus Freeman spent a few months on the Chicago Bears roster in, I think it was 2009. Of course, Brian Urlacher was with the Bears then, and those guys both play the same position. So there's a little bit of connection there. And yeah, now and looks like Kennedy Urlacher is trending towards committing to Marcus Freeman. So a little bit full circle there. All right, this is yeah, please do hit the thumbs up, share, and subscribe, folks. Yeah, this is what I'm about to say. What's for dinner and why is it Taco Bell? I just put so my wife's out of town for for a week. She pre-made my favorite chili she makes. It's turkey ground beef with sweet potatoes and chili. It's so good. It's so how she makes the chili. So it will be chili tomorrow for lunch, though. We're getting Taco Bell. We're getting Taco Bell for the family, for the culture, and it's going to be amazing. Okay, that's it. That's it for this show, folks. Did not think we were going to go 36 minutes, but you guys brought some great questions, and I always impress myself about how good I can ramble on about some topics. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Please do hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, head over to blueandgold.com for more Notre Dame football coverage, and as always, folks, we'll catch you next time.